6, Friday morning in New York City. What is up? It is the Boomer and Geo program on the Fan. We are not on television, not till 7:30. CBS Sports Network, they're running some soccer game from Australia. That sounds awesome. We're coming to live at the Built Ford Tub studio. The guys are off, their final day off until they come back on Monday. And he was so good yesterday, we decided to have him back for another day. The guy to my left, Mr. Yankee, the Yankee Clipper. We call him C-Mac because it's Clipper McMonigle. That's right. And he sure had himself a night late last night as he was out at Yankee Stadium watching that unbelievable comeback. His name is Chris McMonigle. What's up, C-Mac?
Whoa, what's up, Jerry? I'm feeling good today.
Someone's excited.
Oh, man. Yeah, you thought yesterday I was insufferable. Today, my goodness, what a win for the New York Yankees. The best of the season by far. And just continue to add up all the things we've been waiting for this team to do over the last couple days. Add another one. This team has not come from behind at all this year. They haven't.
Well, they did in Toronto. They just didn't.
They just
win.
didn't finish it off and get the win. Correct. But they haven't come back and won a game where they've been down by more than 3 runs. Last night it's 5 after being no hit through 7. They come out there in the 8th. They get 2 from the Stanton home run, and then the at-bats, Jerry. The at-bats in the 9th inning, and we know now they had a little help with a little bit of a tell on the sliders, but the at-bats in the 9th inning were something that we haven't seen from this team strung together, even while they've been scoring a ton of runs. It was a thing of beauty. It was a great victory. It's the best win of the year. It's 4 games in a row, and everything has seemed to change since that play in left field by Cody Bellinger against the Mets in that double play. From that moment on, the Yankees recognize it's time to make tough decisions with aging players. They're putting the right players in the right positions. They're scoring a ton of runs. They're coming from behind. The Williams, the closer on the mound in the 10th. Everything was perfect last night, Jerry.
It's hard to argue. It really is. I mean, you're watching that game, and I'm not going to lie to you. I went to bed. 6th inning, I had enough. And I will be honest with you, too. The pitching early, I mean, Marcus, I can't take it. Every batter's 3-2, and it's such a grind. And they're talking about, if the umpire's not going to give him and there were some pitches that were strikes that were called balls. I get it, that were right on the edge. And you do feel for him in that way. But even Paul O'Neill's like, if they're not going to give him that pitch, it's going to be a long night. It's tough to watch, but whatever. 6th inning.
He can't live in the zone at all. He does not have the stuff to live in the zone.
And he doesn't throw hard enough, all of that, understood. Yeah. So I checked out. And I knew it was a no-hitter, but I also didn't expect it to be one. And then I wake up and I find out, and I watched the last 3 innings when I got here this morning. The first thing you see is Yankees no-hit into the – I'm like, wow, he took that into the – it's so funny, too. So the kid – he no-hit innings, 7 no-hit innings, and he's got 2 strikes on Jazz.
Yes.
And then you get the base hit through the little hole on the right side. And what does Rice do? Next batter, base hit. It's like they couldn't buy a hit, and then they get 2 in a row. And this sounds stupid, and I know that given the fact that you had the Stanton home run, and you also had the Wells hit, and you had the Judge sack fly, but the Volpe slide probably the best part of that play.
Yep.
It sounds like nothing, but the sack fly just to get on the board at 5-0 kind of gets you going a little bit. And then I heard this little note, too. And I know he's been a starter, so it makes sense, but the first pinch hit home run of Giancarlo Stanton's career.
He's been terrible at it.
That?
Yeah, no, he's been terrible at it, and Boone talked to it. It's a different role for him. But, throughout most of his career, he plays.
Yes.
So it's the odd day. Like, this is now going to have to start to be something he does regularly because he's just not a necessarily everyday player, but eventually I think he'll get there. But yeah, and the thing about it too, Jerry, with the no-hitter is I talk about how this felt different. It felt exactly the same for a lot of the game because you said to me out in the newsroom, the first 2 batters, he can't throw a strike.
I know.
He get the Yankees start after scoring all these runs. Yeah. This great pitching staff that we hear about Seattle. Woo's had this incredible year. He comes out. He can't throw a strike. First 2 guys up and Judge up with nobody out and first 2 runners on. And they squander that opportunity.
Big time.
And then they get no hit for the next 6 innings. And you're like, no, I've seen this script before. Yeah. I've seen this exact game from the New York Yankees.
And it also felt, watching it again through the 6th inning, it felt like, hey, we won the first 2 games of the series. This kid's dominating. Right. And I know the guys are going up there trying to, I get that.
Right.
But it just felt like one of those, you know what? We won the series. Yeah. Let's move. And yet, no, there was a lot of fight from this team.
Fight, Jerry.
And it's 4 in a row now. And you are right. Maybe this team has righted the ship. Again, big weekend coming up against the Cubs.
Yep.
But you have to love what they've done the last 4 games. Still 2 out, but that to me means nothing in July. And they're across the board. You got good at bat after good at bat. And Volpe strikes out on the one I thought was a bad pitch. It was probably borderline, but whatever.
Up, but yeah.
He has and then he's got an opportunity. He flies out. But then he starts the inning at second base with the ghost runner, which I can't stand, after Devin Williams was fantastic in the top half. So you've got Volpe. He ends up at third base with the, I know they tried to bunt, and then you get the intentional walk and the walk. So you got the bases loaded. That ball is not hit far.
Nope.
That is a damn good center fielder. And the fact that he makes, a hell of a slide. I know it ain't going to get the fans off his back for long, but he essentially wins that game last night.
No. It was a terrific slide. And, there's we know Dominguez can run, Jazz can run, Volpe can run. That's part of the athleticism of this team that we were looking forward to when the pivot was made off of Juan Soto. But, you have to take that chance. Absolutely. It doesn't matter how shallow it is. You got to take the chance to score there. And his ability to give that slide, it wasn't so much the prototypical, swim where you really give out the left and then go to the right, but it was an incredible slide. He's a very good base runner. He does do some things well, believe it or not. And, absolutely, that moment. And what I hate about replay, by far, my least favorite thing about replay is end-of-game situations like that are in the balance. You can't celebrate in the moment. You even saw it from the Yankees. There was a very tempered – they didn't even jump out of the dugout to start. You have to wait until that replay, and the ball beat him. The ball beat him by a mile.
And it was a good throw.
It was a good throw. The ball beat him by a mile. I thought he was going to be called out. Pessimistic Yankee fan. I thought that was going to be an out. And to see that slide and for it to be Volpe, and he had an opportunity in the ninth, like you said. He was unable to come through. But still, important slide, huge part of the win. Hopefully this could be something that can spark him. People have been sparked by weirder things.
Yep.
So hopefully this is something that can turn it around. I did see a lot of Yankee fans on Twitter because I do monitor Yankee Twitter because I'm insane. They were a little bit acknowledging. Hey, great slide. You got to give him credit where credit is due. Wish he would have come through in the ninth and he still can't hit, but that was a very impressive slide from Volpe.
And I know we'll get to the Mets next hour. I'm not going to spend much time on them right now, but I think you're right that one thing can get a guy going in the other direction. I was listening to the first game of the Met game, and Anthony Recco was doing the game on radio, and he was talking about when Vientos hits the double, maybe this, because he wasn't expecting to play. You had the injury with Winker. Maybe this is the thing. You never know when it comes.
Right.
And I don't know about Vientos, but perhaps there can be some carryover. Volpe comes in a little more confident today, feels pretty good about himself, and maybe we will look back the same way we just might look back on the Bellinger play and say where the season turned. Maybe, just maybe, that's the type of play that gets Volpe going in the right direction.
Yeah, that's what you hope. You hope he can do it. The general manager already come out and spoke to the fact that he's going to be the solution more than the problem. He's not going anywhere. He is the Yankee shortstop. That's not going to change, at least for the rest of this year. And they need him to be better because, you watch the games, I'm sorry. I'm hoping it can spark him, but 2-0 counts, fastball counts, getting beat. He's just, the swing's a little heavy. He's trying to do too much. He's clearly in his own head. He's been hitting, 150 for the last month and a half. It's bad. So hopefully this can be something that can spark him because they need a better play. And they need someone to lay down the bunt, Jerry.
They tried.
You mentioned it.
They tried.
Oh, my God. If you're going to hit a $110 and literally be like the 324th player in Major League Baseball out of 327, you better lay down the bunt, Peraza. Oh, my God. It drove me absolutely nuts.
It's one thing the older guys will call up and talk about. We don't bunt enough. We don't bunt enough. And they're probably not wrong in some degree. But I do think there are times when it's warranted to do it depending upon the stage of the game, who's up. But no one works on it.
No.
So it's almost like, and I know they're major leaguers, they're making a lot of money, they should know how to do it. It's just not a focus anywhere. So then when you ask a guy to go up there and do it, and he pops it up, that's kind of what you get.
He takes a fastball low in the zone and doesn't bunt that, and then bunts the slider that was up and puts it in the air. Very frustrating, but ultimately just a classic win with classic at-bats. And then the idea that I know some people, I'm sure, if I was doing the overnight show, I'd get a ton of calls about, it's tainted because of the tipping of the pitches.
So this is to me, and I really don't want to get into a conversation about cheating this morning but where's the line? So personally, I don't care. If you're tipping pitches, you're tipping pitches. Right. And if the guy at second base is going to wave his arms on every slider you throw, that's on you to figure 100%. It out. I believe that. Are we going obviously a little far with electronics and buzzer? For sure, at the end of the day, it's the same effing thing. You're telling the batter what's coming. So I personally don't care. I think it's on the pitcher and the catcher to be able to either disguise and hide or not tip or flinch. Now, I couldn't tell exactly what it was. My guess was, the way I kept watching it, it seemed like, to me, he was bringing the glove down further with the slider, and when he was throwing the fastball, he kept the glove higher towards his throat. I don't know, but they clearly did know, And what was interesting, too, was because I actually went to this morning when I saw this might be a story, I went to the Mariners TV broadcast. And I went and watched that ninth inning with them. I'm not even sure who I was listening to, but it was a male and a female doing the game. And they never brought it up at all. But what was interesting as I kept going back and watching it, trying to pick up the little tells that maybe the Yankees noticed, was they didn't do it on changeups. It was just sliders, which is interesting because you can, was it Wells with the base at the tie? Right.
The best whole part of the inning and the best at bat was Wells. And to your point, everyone's getting sliders. Sliders. No hand movement typically means fastball. And he takes
but there were changeups.
There were changeups. They threw a couple of changeups. And that was a great at bat, and it was a great take. That it was a 2-2 changeup that Cal
was
Raleigh,
over the plate, but
that
down.
was a strike, and Cal Raleigh didn't catch it well enough. He caught it going down, so he didn't get the call. But it was actually in the zone. That was the best take of it. But yeah, to your point, like there is a line. And the line is, first off, don't let anybody on second base. Second of all, because that's the only time you can actually acknowledge, this isn't the same thing as the Astros. This isn't pounding trash cans, taking it off monitors. This is the players on the field recognizing there was some thought that Jack Curry was talking in the postgame that the guy from second base could see the grip, that he wasn't covering
Maybe
his
that's
glove.
what it was.
He wasn't covering his glove enough, and they could see the grip when he was holding the ball for sliders. But I would, and just you get the thing for sliders, and the fastball's not going to have a wave. But this isn't stealing it off of screens. This is players on the field recognizing something you are doing, that you are giving away what you're throwing, and then relaying it on the field. This has been done for 100 years.
But
this is not.
But this is where I say the line is blurred a little bit.
Yeah.
The bottom line, though, is you're telling the batter what's coming.
Yes.
I mean, no matter how you do it, the bottom line is you're telling the batter what the pitcher's throwing.
Yeah, but here's the difference. The pitcher's telling the batter what. Munoz is the one doing
it. Whether you're doing it that way or you're stealing the catcher's signs, what the hell's the difference? You're telling the batter what's coming. There's 17 different ways you can get to the same exact conclusion.
Yeah, of course, but there's different. I could pass the bar exam or I can cheat off the guy next to me. Either way, I pass the test. There's different ways to go to the end result.
And let me be clear, I don't care.
I get you. And listen, we Yankee fans, we all know what happened in the 2001 World Series when Andy Pettitte gave up 14 runs in 3 innings. He was tipping his pitches.
Exactly right.
There is a difference between using cameras and trying to get a look at a catcher's signals and then relaying it from the bench with bangs, than being on the field, having a pitcher give
not arguing with you.
It's on Munoz.
Yes.
So
the end result is still the same, though.
Well, of course.
The batter still knows what's coming.
Correct.
So, but whatever. Again, I don't want to get into that conversation because it shouldn't.
But there is a difference. There is a difference between being able to pick it up on the field and the players do it.
There is a difference, but there's also
1870 that could have been done. 1870 the Astros couldn't have cheated the way they cheated.
All right, well, in 1870 you didn't have replay that wouldn't have changed things. I mean, the game does change. So that to me is a nonsensical comment.
No, but the game changes in what aspect? It's the same number of
technology changes things.
Yeah, I understand that, but it's still what my point is, the cheating process.
Okay, steroids, amphetamines.
Yes.
No one gives a crap about amphetamines.
Correct.
You're still cheating.
Correct.
But we decide that the line, that's fine.
No,
Why? Why is that fine? Guys are out boozing it up all night. They would have been crap the next morning if they didn't pop pills.
That's
cheating. But no one cares about that. We got a million Hall of Famers that are, in Cooperstown that were popping pills just to get through a game.
Sure.
But no one cares about that. But whatever. Again, the Yankee win last night was fantastic. There's a lot of different ways to like what you saw. And this does, too. There's so much about the trade deadline coming up and what they need, what they don't need. The thing to me that is clear, and we talked about it yesterday and we'll continue to discuss, they need to be a little bit better in spots. There's no question about it. This team, though, is really good. Mm-hmm. And I know the stretch they went through was awful, but that to me was the exception and not the rule. The rule is what they've been for 90% of the season.
Yep.
And that's one of the top teams in baseball. And I think you've said it. I think it was you. Maybe it was Brandon. I'm not even sure. But one of you Yankee guys were talking about, enjoy the ride a little bit.
Yeah.
October has been difficult. We get it. But if you're going to sit here and just poo-poo everything they do in the regular season, then what's the point?
Yeah. No, that's a lot of Yankee fans, and I've been, in the crosshairs of Yankee fans sometimes because I point that out. We focus too much. Here's my point with it sometimes. Because I remember I think Gio talked about it. Passan came out with that comment about every time I hear Yankee fans complain, oh, shut up, you could be the Pirates and everything like that, and forget the World Series or bust mentality. I don't necessarily want to forget the World Series or bust mentality. I just can't bring it to every game in June and July.
I agree.
They can't win the World Series. If you're going to hold them to the standard of its World Series or bust in a series in June against Cincinnati, in a series against the Boston Red Sox in July, like, no matter what they do, they can't appease you. They can't do it for you in June or July. So it makes it impossible to enjoy the year when you view every win as, oh, they better do that, and every loss as this is a clear indication on the failures that will ultimately cost them in the World Series.
Right.
Like, it's an impossible way to go about 162 games. And I feel like last night, like, if you leave that game going, but they were no hit, and Boone changed the lineup that scored 19 runs in the first 2 games, and what the hell is he allowing Beater to face Polanco in the 6th inning for? Like, if you're going to view the game through that and not acknowledge what the Yankees did last night, you're not doing yourself any favors as a base. This is supposed to be fun, Jerry. We're supposed to enjoy this.
I agree.
And sometimes Yankee fans with these lofty and fair expectations, I'm not saying they're unfair, but it makes it impossible to be a fan and enjoy the ride. I want to enjoy the ride.
You should. You got 162 of these things before October comes, and then if you want to take that mentality, especially since they're there every year, and maybe that's part of the problem is that you take it too much for granted that they're going to win between 90 and 100 games every single year, and every single year they're going to be in the postseason. And sure, they have failed in the playoffs every year since 2009. I certainly understand that. But I also know that they give you, as a fan, a hell of a lot of good nights through April, May, June, July, and August, and then even into September, that just kind of watch and enjoy.
Absolutely. And I say this to Yankee fans, too. I say, you're a Yankee fan. I don't know what other teams you root for, but they do better by you than I can guarantee you they do better by you than any other team you root for. Like, it's.
I agree.
I mean, it's just. Unless you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan, unless you're a Patriots fan, unless you're like, other than that, the Yankees do pretty good by you. But that doesn't change the fact they've really struggled. And I don't disagree with you that they're a good team, but we didn't talk enough about it yesterday. I don't know, or we could talk about it more. Brian Cashman's direct tone about needing to make changes.
Yeah.
Like, he has been throughout the years a little bit more like, well, listen, I like what we have in the room, but sure, I'll always look to upgrade. I mean, he came out the other day and was very much. I'm looking at a starter. We've lost 3 starters from our World Series rotation. We need arms in the bullpen. I'm going to look to try and improve third base. And it was very much like, I'm in. And he hasn't really given that tone. So while I'm thrilled this morning, it's a 4-game winning streak. Last night was the best win of the year. It was extremely exciting. This team is now showing you different elements and this last one of finally coming back and finishing off the game was new to this team this year. There are still issues. They do need, as you saw, Beater getting important at-bats in this game, and he's just not that kind of guy. They need arms in the bullpen. They still need things to accomplish at this trade deadline. But I think they put behind them the terrible play from a couple weeks ago, and hopefully they can take this forward and be what they were for, as you say, 90% of the season, which is one of the top teams in the American League, if not all of baseball.
All right, when we come back, Lepresti decided to go to Hershey, so he is out. We've got Peter Schwartz that is going to join us. Did an hour with Al this morning, which I don't think went poorly. We will get to the Mets coming up at 7 o'clock. At some point this morning, too, we're going to talk about the Met viewing domination of the Yankees, and we've got some other things across the board for you as well. We'll get to your calls, too, at 888-808-1019. C-Mac and Jerry in for Boomer and Gio on The Fan.